start. Let me start it. So you're able to see my screen, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what we are trying, right? With this. So here we have to use select statement. So what it is saying, this API is saying get all the data from database, means this is a database select. As you know, basic database SQL, right? No, forget, if you don't know about this database also, don't worry, forget about that. So to get some data from the backend system, right, from the storage location, then you have to use select. This is general English meaning, right? Select that, pick that, right? So here select the data from a data source. Streaming is automatically applied to avoid preemptive consumption of such results, which may lead to performance and memory issues, right? Streaming means then this automatically connects the data base and get the data domain to collect, use this component. Just drag this component and put it here. What is happening? Okay, database. See, you drag and place here. You see this, how where you have to place? You have to place in the right direction. Okay. The moment you pull it here, it shows that whether here before or after logger. Place in after logger, because the components are will be move forward only. Sometimes in between also, no matter. But you have to, when you select this one, you have to see it will show the icon, right? See here the icon is showing. So where you have to place, see it will place it here out before, in between, right, after, like that. You have to choose the right placeholder. Okay, once you add this component, it gives error. Error means that is a mandate data. So if you just say mouse over, right, you could see that, okay, it is already extracted here. We'll delete this. See here, if you mouse over, you could see a required element SQL query syntax is missing, means that is the mandatory field. Any mandatory field that is not provided, we could see the error messages. That is a warning message. Without that, you cannot start your flow. Though, say for the first thing, you see in the general options, this is the name of the component that you have tried. You can change that. Say get all employees. For you to understand, if somebody see that what this select statement is doing, you can give that, right? To get all employees data. Now what you can do next, after display name, basic settings, right? You have to do some settings, right, to fetch the data from the storage location. So what is that? You see that initially you don't have any configurations available. So to add a new configuration, what you do, just click on this add configuration. Means then it will open the corresponding database configurations. Why it open the database configurations? Because you have selected the database connector, right? You, once you select the database connector, that corresponding configuration it will expect. It will not expect something else, right? Whichever the component connector you are using, that related configurations it will ask. Just click on add, and now it lists the number of drivers databases that it is supporting. That we have to choose the one which we want. That either you can go Derby or MySQL, Oracle, which database you have that. Right now I have MySQL. Select that. Once you select that, see it need a driver, right, to work with that. You know, if any connection, if you are making a connection to the external system, right, it needs some connectivity related configuration. So who will take my who will take the responsibility to make a connection from my application to the database? The driver, the corresponding database driver. Which database you selected, that driver will own the responsibility to make a connection to that particular database with the help of host, port, user, password, and all. Because in the same database you can have n number of schemas, right? So I have a development and I have a cycle and I have testing, so many are there, right? To which DB it has to connect, and what is the user account, as we seen this here, right? You can have n number of accounts available, to which account I can connect, right? So based on these details it will connect to that particular database. Then now for that we have to add a driver. There are number of ways we can say, right? Add recommended libraries, right? If we say yes, then it will be downloaded for you. So it will go here, resolving dependencies. You can do this way. Another simple way is that say configure add Maven dependency. Maven dependency, it will say here, it will automatically add the Maven dependency. You don't need to install this, just say finish that. Open, right? And it will add into the pom.xml. Where is that pom.xml? We will see this one. Now, also you could see this. Okay, driver is loaded successfully. But what is the host? We know this is a host is local host, right? This is our local database, and port is 3306 is the default port which comes while installing a MySQL server. And username is this one. I have some username I created here. I seen this, right? Vishwanath, I created one username here. Let me give that username. And password I given as password. And database name is this one you have to give. This is the schema name. Development is the database name. And make sure you must perform this test connection instead of struggling later, right? If you do a test connection here, it will bring the acknowledgement message, shows that status of the connection is a success or failure. Then you can proceed with the next step. Okay, that is, this must be like, this is like a checkpoint whether you provided connection details are correct and it is able to connect. Even though if you provide these details are correct, but it will not be able to connect this. Why? There may be some network issue, or maybe this SQL server might be not running due to some reasons, some technical reasons, or maybe that details are not accessible, something, any reason. So the test connection will say that it is pass or fail. Or it should not take much this time. I will fix this thing now. Sorry for this taking time, too much time. Okay, let me go with this because meta test connection within 3 to 4 seconds it should complete this. Okay, okay, connection successful. Now my connection details provided are successful. Just say okay. Now you have created a connection from your application to this database, right? Clear? Shirisha, Anusha?
Yes, sir.
Now we have created a connection from this application to this database with the details provided, which means this guy is ready to do what you want. Then we have to tell what we are trying. Now what is our requirement? To fetch all the employees, right? To fetch all employees, you have to write a query, right? What is the query? Is a basic select means fetch, like fetch. Select star means all the columns. I'm not expecting specific columns. You say select star means all the columns pertaining, related, or exist in this table will be retrieved, because I don't know what columns are there. Let's see that. If you want to get the required columns, that we will see that in the upcoming sessions, right? Let's go with the simple to complex queries. Select star from means a contingency, like from which table, EMPLO, employee table. That's all. Here you no need to have a input parameters because input you are not giving, because you are saying select star from employee means you are expecting to get all the employees. Say save that. Your query is ready. Then you, once you fire the query, then you want to see the data, right? So to display the data, right, to output the data, then we have a transformation. Always use data wave transformation component, which will convert this incoming data to your required format. By default, this select component executes and return the Java format. You see this one? Drag this component place. Sorry, see, any database select operations will return the Java formats only, because this is a Java, right? This is a Java query database, right? JDBC stands for Java database connectivity. So this return the data in the form of Java. So you cannot understand that what is Java. Even people, some people doesn't know Java who are learning this. So they don't want that. I don't know what format it is coming. It is something like we discussed initially, right? The other guy, what the language they are speaking, you do not know. But what you want to understand your Telugu. That's all. So I will add a transform message component. Hey guy, you please help me to convert to my own format. So what you want to do, say just say JSON. So what is this? Whatever the data it is sending, we call it as a payload. Similarly, something similar, right? If you want something from here, right, this every any data you are sending from here, it is a called as a payload. Means sending output data is called a payload. So that we call as a payload. Means output, my output, please display in the form of JSON object, because I can understand only JSON. Suppose if you are expert and if you are always expecting XML, right, then no, it's not something like you are expert. Then if your requirement is such a way to get the data in the form of XML, then you put XML. Okay, that we'll see step by step. No worry. Just start with the simple flow. Simple format is JSON. JSON anyone can understand, right? Please, what the data is coming, no matter, please convert that to into JSON format so that I can understand my language. Okay, now this time I will start in the debug mode to show you that. Okay, to understand, to learn the debugging also we'll see what this component is doing, and after executing that, what the data it is returning. Okay, you will be seeing that. So first put a breakpoint here in the component, select this component, right click on this component, add a breakpoint, then say start project debug on the debug board. Then it will start the project with the debugging options. So what we could see here, there's flow remaining same. What the syntax here, that will not be same. The only thing is, instead of mock data, instead of dummy data, we are getting the data from the backend system. Make sure that you have to have this tables created for you, because right now I have not created, it is already created, because we cannot lose time for small things. You know, right, how to create these tables. If you feel difficulty, right, we are already watching videos, right? Videos are recorded. Let's go through this recording videos and see that, right? To create a schema, first click on this create a schema. Right after creating a schema, if you want to have the user created with your own username, right, go to servers, select users and privileges. Then you could see a option with this window. Then click add account. Say give the username here. This comes as a percentage by default. Then you can change to local host also, no problem. And password, make sure remember the password, right? If you forget the password, it is issue. Then again you have to create a new password, new account. Then confirm password. Click on apply. Then one more pop-up comes, say confirm. Then the account will be created and ready to use. This is how you create account. And if you want to create a employee table name, right click on this create a table name, okay, option, and window is open. Here you just give the name of the table name. Then once that, you just click that one to minimize that. Say here, like give that employee ID. right? How I design that employee underscore ID. Then this is a primary key for the first time because this should store unique value. And next employee name. Employee name is the string, right? Then we have to choose the data type is character, and if we expect the employee name should be greater than 56 characters, right? As a best practice, right, when we are working with the real-time project, we have to understand the requirement, how lengthy is the name, right? This name is sometimes 100 characters, some people will have the very long name, right? We max 100 we support, we don't accept no matter how lengthy you have, but name should not be more than 100 characters. Even it is not good to display in some places, some, right? So like that you have to follow some best practices to give the limited, right? You see in somewhere in the designing, right, in the UI screens, other bank account somewhere, right? Welcome to Sirisha, welcome to Anusha, like short name we will give that, right? Right, we cannot give welcome to Anusha at this, some blah 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 blah, right? So like the things, once you are done with this all the columns, we say apply, then a new table is created with all the columns required, okay, and listed here. If you want to add data here, right, you can add that, but from the application itself we will add this data, no worry. I will show you how to push the data to the database also. Now sorry, let's go back, see, and our application is running. If there is a pop-up comes, right, say yes, no, you just say yes, don't say no. Again it will not start debug mode, still it is in line slicing. And one more thing I want to show you, right here, initially we could see HTTP connector only, later what we added, if you see this models, right, database also, this sockets also not required, we can move it back, remove model, we don't want this socket, okay, we'll remove later. See, if you don't add unnecessary things here, number of models you added here, right, those many dependencies will be added here, because right now we are not using any socket programming, right? If you add, just keep like that, drag and drop, then you could see the number of things available support, then your application goes down, means it takes a lot of time to load all these libraries, etc etc, right? Don't just keep drag and drop here. If you are working with the components, right, make sure it should be available under favorites. Say, if you say add models, means which models are required for this project, then model corresponding models you have to drag and drop, then this will be automatically come and sit here. Right now we are working with the HTTP connector and database, right? The moment we add a database component, that it requires something, right, to connect to the driver, or right, to interact with the driver, no, right, to get into database, fetching data, etc etc, doing so many things, right? So all these jars are minimum it required, it is saying, so it will automatically download from the internet, that you no need to worry, okay? Let's see one by one. Well, based on the components we are using, connectors we are using, that dependencies and jars will be automatically downloaded by the MuleSoft. All these things are maintained in the pom.xml. Could see this one. So you cannot, you don't need to worry about this, right? This is HTTP connector and socket connectors. What connectors you are using? Okay, and dependency is the RAM file it is using, and API model and MySQL. All these are like our Spring dependencies. Anusha, you know that, right?
Yes, sir.
It is same. Dependencies means what things are required for us
Group
to
ID.
start, right, to implement the project. You have implemented the project, and these are all the dependencies that you are using in your project. Okay, let's go back to this REST API. Now what we are doing now, we will first API is to fetch all the employees from the database. Just say send. This time I will be getting data from the database instead of mock data. Now in the database we have 6463, and last name is Mudiam, first name is this guy, is last name is P. Let's see, sorry, we are in the debug mode. I expect to show the debug mode, right? That's why the result is not coming up. Say now, if I see the debug mode, it is selected. Here the debug is starting. Are you guys, are you able to see this one? Sirisha, Anusha?
Yes, sir.
So this is highlighted because I set the breakpoint here, means no matter from whether it is the flow is calling from here or not, because I don't want to see all these details, but my focus, my main theme is I want to debug. I want to check the data from between these two, right? That's all. I set the breakpoint here. Then go here, debug, mul debugger. View the, see what it means saying, view message data by running your application in the debug mode. Means see here, select all employees, what it is doing, right? You cannot see all these things, right? With by just opening this component, but while debugging, see what it is, connect config reference, it is database config, right? It is using configuration, and connector is the database connector, flow listener, default flow listener. So many things, and query also, right? What query you are provided, see what query you are provided, select star from employees, and query term mode is not shared, right? So what parameters you set to execute this query, everything will be listed here. Right now, the payload is not there. You are not sending any input, right? Payload is nothing but if you want to send something, then it is called a payload, and no parameters. This is simple SQL query. Now, what once it execute that, then it comes here. Then you could see the actual output. So it is a, you don't just next processor means it go to the next processor. I will show that point. Okay, we'll learn debugging step by step. Next processor means it come here, next processor. You see here, payload. Payload is not after executing this one, this guy will send this to, because I have executed the result. Who is someone has to accept, because domain to execute this one, right? You see, sir, where is this payload is coming? Who is, how this just coming like that? Okay, that is the question. Here, if you select this one, you see this, after executing this query, someone has to hold the data in some container, right? That container, see here in the advanced, if you go here, see target value. Target value is, you know, right? Output target value we have given. You can give name also here, no problem. Okay, you can give say Anusha, Sirisha, something, means some name. If you don't give something, it's a payload. Understood, Anusha, Sirisha?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, see if it executes, right? If whenever this component execute, it is holding some result. Who will hold the result? Someone has to. It will come default, means this connector will have this ready-made target value. Then this guy is holding. So that payload I am directly sending to next processor, whoever wants to process my data and convert to their whatever they want, let them play. My job is to push that. If they say get, then I will push it. See, it is going to the next flow, means I will send the target is payload, then it will push the data to that. Then you can see here, payload is how many records you have from the database is 2 records. That's why you could see this size is, payload size is 2. You see this one, it is what format it is getting, hash map, key value pair. Okay, key is nothing but the index of that. 0 is the index and 1 is the next index, and the value is the number of fields here. As you could see here, what it is format, this is a Java format, right? You see, this is a Java format. This data is called a Java format. Hash map is Java object or not? Yes or no, ma? See, media type here also clearly I am returning Java, but this guy expecting application JSON, right? Then you just see this one, then you could see the output expected application JSON. See, it is coming as equals to, but now after executing this component, this data is converted into JSON format, means you are expecting the object data to transform into JSON. That's why it is showing you the JSON format. This is how MuleSB is helping us to convert the incoming language to our required format with the simple options, right, available in the MuleStudio. So is there any confusion in this, how and what we have done in this flow? Please, your response is required here.
Yes, sir.
So if you respond right, then I can understand the you are following me or not.
Yes, sir. Understanding, sir.
Okay, so this to get employees. Once you get the employees, this guy is holding some data, right? This guy, that guy is sending that payload to this one. Then I'm expecting the same payload, whatever is this guy is sending, but in the form of JSON.
Yes.
Okay, now it is almost ending up, but we'll see one more operation method we can see, but for it will help to go and practice further till evening. Now get employees, but how I get the employees? By ID. Now here you are sending as this input value as a part of URI param, and then you are expecting the data in the form of JSON. So now what we do, this stop the project. This you don't want this component. These are mock data, right? Static data, fixed values. Now what is required now? Oh, sorry, I cleared the log. See, you can see the logs also. Once you deploy, right? You meant to send a log. See, get all employees started, right? You see the log is printed here. Now for this component, this flow, we will not do anything, right? Then we just a simple logger. Okay, I will not add anything. Okay, I will just leave blank. Then we see what message it print if you don't add anything like this. Okay, now what we are trying to do, we are trying to get the data from that, and again it is a select only, but this time my select query is different. I am selecting the data based on identification called ID. Now what is the next step? First we have to say get employee by ID. If you give name, right, then it is easy for you also to remember next time. Then configuration, right, basic setting, then you already have that, because same connection you are using across, right? You are not going to different database or different table also, right? You can have a number of connection database configurations, like just go click add, right? You can add like number of connections, no matter, but you are you are expecting to fetch the data from the same database, right? Whatever the database we have worked earlier, the same DB we are trying to connect, but this time based on the ID I'm trying to get the data. So that is the reason I'm selecting the same configuration. Now here you have to write the query. This SQL query is some slightly different than previous one. How it is different? Say select, this time also selecting, but all columns from employee. What is the condition where the employee, it should be, this column should be the database column. You cannot give something like that. See employee underscore ID, employee underscore ID equals to, syntax is equals to colon and employee ID. From where I can get this employee ID is the question. Then this, right, as per the syntax, as the RAML file API design, this we are getting from the URI param, right? We have to capture it from the URI param. So how do I get it from the URI param? Here is the option, say input params. It will hold that input params as you instructed. Start with the braces. Then you say, I have given employee ID, right? Employee ID colon, this is from the URI params. This is a part of HTTP attributes. So start with attributes dot, what is that? URI params. And what is that URI param? You see, you already documented in the API, so it will give you just like that, employee ID. Now your query is ready to go. Then what you do next? Once you get the data, again you are expecting to get the data in your language, your understandable language. Then I just change that JSON. And suppose if you want to display only some sort of message, and if you want to display only a few fields, and if you want to customize your outputs to something else, then we can write some piece of code here by looping that, like Java for loops, right? That we will discuss. That is called a separate concept called data wave expression language, right? I cannot directly mix it here. Again, you feel confused, that we'll discuss later step by step. Now say payload. Okay, just bring the payload as is. This time I directly run that, okay, to show you that whether how it is working. Okay, you understood this step, right? This to get the data, to employee data based on the ID. What ID is that? That is the employee ID. But who will pass this input to me? Okay, Who will pass this input to me? This guy, a part of query param. I will send that. Okay, but how do I capture that query param here? Here we have a syntax available, right? Attributes. All the HTTP inputs will be part of attributes only. Inside attributes only, you will have this URI params, query params, header params. You see this one? All this we call it as attributes only. You can either params, right? Query params or authorization headers, body. Everything will go as attributes only. Okay. Inside attributes, we have this object. You could see this one, right? Say attribute slash, if you open this one, sorry, see headers, listener, path, method, query, parent, query, string, relative path, URI, parents, everything, right? All these part of headers attributes only. Inside that, then you choose the model. If you are sending the values as a part of query param, then you choose this params dot, then what values you specified, client ID, secret, blah blah blah, etc., right? Then that will be taken as the input. Now let's see whether the server is up, still going on. Okay, here anything I can miss here. Also, you see here, no? We seen this employee API and Mule server. By default, Mule is using built-in server, right? See, to run this server, it is required this many. Even though we are not using this many, but still it load all these jobs. That is the disadvantage. Even Spring Boot also we have this one. If we add just one web dependencies, no matter whether you are using all those support libraries, but still it is loading all the libraries unnecessarily. But where all this going, it going into some uh, storage location. So when the next time when you create any new project, right, again it will not download again the same set of jars, because it is there in that location. So it will go and check that libraries are there, then it will start consuming that libraries, then it will not go and create again and again. Okay, this, you see this how this project structure is created here. src main, right, Java, it is with mul, and this is Java. If you have a Java programs, right, then this is the folder where you have to create that. Okay, that is not required as a part of this mul training. Okay, if you see in general, if you see that if you create a Maven project, any Java project, right, then you could see this one, but you don't see src main mul, right? That is not related to mul. But here it comes with the additionally src main mul and src main Java, because this stores, this is the place where you have to place the mul flows. You see this one, it is clearly showing flows. All the mul flows will be placed it here, and these are the used folder. This is the folder used to place our static resource. That will be covered in the upcoming session, step by step. We see everything, no worry. And project libraries, right? Mainly, what is the project library? So initially I have choose this MySQL connector, add like that, right? First option. So that is the reason it is added. You can delete this one also, no problem, because we have added that MySQL connector using Maven dependency option. So that is the reason you don't need to add it here, because see why this is red. You can manually go and import the libraries and place it here. Suppose in case if it is not available in our mul, right, mostly the 100% it will be available. There is nothing to say it is not available. Okay, just showing that there are number of options available to store our to load our supported libraries to develop the project. Now the application is started. Now what is the next step? Now we are expecting to get the data based on the employee ID. Now this time I will give like this one. Then what you could see this one, you cannot get any data, because nowhere the ID is related to this 232323. So interview question, what is the output of the SQL query execution if no data present in the database? Is the empty array. Remember this, what is this format? Anusha, Srisha, this is empty array. If data is not found, it should be empty array. Okay, now say give proper for 6463. Now hit this. Now this time you got this data, right? Because this is the real data that exists with that. Now 6464, try. This guy is different and Balakrishna. Now I try 6565, 66, no one is present. Then you could not see any result. So the default output of query execution is array. If data is not there, it is not null. It should be empty array, because everything is data is coming in the form of array only, right? JSON array. See here, this is the JSON object where it is inside the array. If this data is not there, right, then this will be, if you remove this one, what happens? See, it is something like this. See, if the requested key, for example 6363, is not there, then this record will not come. Then what you will see? Empty array. So that is the reason output of query execution is empty array. And you see this one, the loggers, how it is printing, right? I will clear this one and show you that what it is printing as a part of logger. See, this is the log message. See, after executing this one, see, logger message processor. This processor started. See, it is printing everything, request path, raw path, everything, all these things, every printing, it is printing that. When it will print like that, if you don't provide anything as a part of your logger message, then it capture everything as a all the HTTP behavior and print it in the console, right? This is how we get the real data from the backend system. And this is where we have to start, or we have to develop application using any point studio using mul connectors, mul components. So this is where the first step, okay, we have started today. Going forward, we have to keep working on this any point studio only. Whatever we are doing things here should be very carefully understand that. Okay, we have to keep practice day to day. Okay, no, that's all for today. Then we stop this recording.